Good afternoon. This is Wallace Gator Bradley. You know I'm the host of the Bradley Report. And as you know, I'm also the president of United Peace Inc. And this show is brought to my viewing audience by none other than the producer and director, and especially the chairman of United Peace Inc., none other than Terry Marsh Bradley, who happens to be my wife. To God be the glory. That's our story. So, Omari, let's get on with the show. I got a very important guest, and everyone has been paying attention in Illinois for sure, but around the country about what this gentleman did by letting individuals know in order for you to be fair, you got to start off with being right in your heart. The reason that the fair tax thing failed because there was a matter of a lack of trust in the individuals that was pushing the fair tax to the point that the people in Illinois, black, white, Muslim, Christians, Democrats, Republicans, you call it what you want, said, hold them up. There's a trust factor in Illinois. When they see that the cannabis law that was passed because of fairness and it didn't happen, it was a trust factor. When they see where the Nursing Home Care Act is not, Section 8 is not being enforced against nursing homes that's not in compliance, people say there's a trust factor. And here we are today. I got a brother by the name of Larry Ivory. So I'm going to let him explain to you who he is and what he's done to let it be known that a man's name is only as good as his word. Brother Larry?
Gator, well, hey, man, I am excited to be on your show. Again, thank you for all the work that you've done throughout the state and being an advocate on behalf of Black people. My mission in our organization is a very simple mission. We believe if you strengthen Black businesses, you strengthen Black communities, and you strengthen Black people, and you strengthen America. That's what we represent. And when this issue of the fair tax, what they call the fair tax, was came out, we had to take a real close look at the pros and cons and then arrive at a decision. But we never make decisions on supporting something, and we don't make decision based upon whether it's a Democratic issue
Mm-hmm.
or a Republican issue. We only take a look at is it our issue and how is it going to impact us. And when we examine it in the midst of a pandemic, to raise taxes in the midst of a pandemic just didn't make sense to us. We've already losing a significant number of small Black businesses aren't surviving, and those who are surviving and making a little money, now we're going to put an extra burden on those who make in excess of $250,000. Now, that's just the overarching issue, but there's a whole lot more to this issue than just that because there's the collateral damage that comes with the fact that businesses are shutting their doors, restaurants, national chains are shutting their doors, and a lot of Black people work for those organizations, restaurants,
Correct.
hospitals, as well as other industries that Black people work for. And when they shut their doors, we lose our jobs. And so when we looked at all the pros and cons of this thing, it was easy for us to arrive at the fact that this was not something good for our community. It surely wasn't good for Black businesses. And so we decided to get involved and engage in helping to educate our community. And I thought that was important because we were kind of getting to spend on other stuff that it was good for us. We wouldn't have had a real honest conversation about the facts. So we wanted to make sure that the facts were out there. But I think, Gator, what I would say, which was most important to me, was this: is that every time they want something done, they want to come to us
Correct.
and get us emotionally attached to an issue that they know they can't get over the finish line without us.
Correct.
But in the negotiations, they ain't carved nothing out for us.
Correct.
They want us to give our votes without getting something for it. Well, I'm just supposed to continue to give you something that we can't get something for it. And then when people start talking about, well, this is going to help economic development
Correct.
on the west side and south side of Chicago, it's going to help education. My piece was show me where it says that. And no one can point that out because it doesn't say that.
Right.
We don't know how they're going to spend the money. They got pension obligation, all kinds of obligations. Now, if they had put that in writing and that was where the money was going to go, then we might have had a different type of outcome and a different type of conversation.
Correct.
But we were not invited to the table, nor were we given an opportunity to have input at the
That's
same time.
you know
So
that's pretty
we
much
have no other choice but to try to protect ourselves.
right. That's pretty much what they did with that cannabis bill.
Same thing.
And I'm
Same.
with you. We have to be at the point, put in writing what we get. They say, okay, we don't want to talk about quotas. Okay. But you got to find another word because minority and what's that? The new word.
Uh,
Uh,
Diversity spend.
right. It's not a person, place, or thing. One of the things, now, tell them the name of your organization, where you stand in your organization. I know about it. I want my viewing audience to hear what you are about because I'm letting them know it's time for us to work together because of your organization. Because I'm hearing across the state, they calling me. I don't care if it's ministers, I don't care if it's state reps, state senators, I don't care if it's businesses. They're all calling me, if they're African American businesses, saying that they're not getting their fair share. Okay? And they saying that when they call to Springfield or call to the governor's administration, and I want to make this perfectly clear. I'm true blue Democrat and a supporter of J.B. Pritzker. But I'm also an African American man. Okay? As you know, I was out there on the forefront. Foreign, lost some friends because they say, well, he ain't going to do nothing. He ain't no different than the others. So they made it where I had a responsibility to stay on the forefront, to aid and assist this man and being the governor that he convinced me that he would be in order for me to convince the voters who happen to be business people. And like you said, tell them what your organization is, the name of it. They need to know this. Go ahead, Larry.
Well, we're the Illinois State Black Chamber of Commerce, and I'm president, CEO, and one of the founders of the organization back in 1997. I also served as chairman of the board of the National Black Chamber of Commerce in Washington, D.C. So I have a national responsibility, and we have been advocating across the country for greater inclusion with corporations, to do more business with Black, to put more Blacks on corporate boards, and to create more opportunities across the board. So we have been true champions when it comes to advocating on behalf of Black people. We've done a lot over the years in fighting different organizations like IDOT, CMS. We are a constant advocate. We want our fair share. You know, we built this country, Gator.
Right.
You know, at the peak of slavery, there was close to 4 to 5 million slaves that worked for free. And even though they abolished slavery, that money that people made, more millionaires were made at that time than any time in history. But once they abolished that, that money didn't disappear. That money went to corporations, institutions, education, all kinds of things, and legacy wealth was created. We deserve better than what we're getting, but we're not going to get any better until we make ourselves relevant. And when you're relevant, like we say, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Right.
Often, we're not at the table, we're on the menu. And when we get to the table, they hoodwink or bamboozle us and tell us something, and we get nothing for it. We're poor negotiators. I say, look, if you get a deal and the deal is a bad deal, what do? You don't accept the deal.
Right.
You reject the deal, and then you force them to go back to the table and negotiate.
Right.
Black people have to demand, because they're so critical to the success of any party. And we have to be driven not by a party, but by the issue.
Right.
And if the issue is good for us, I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican. If you're doing something that hurts black businesses, we're going to be against you.
Right.
If you're doing something that's going to help black business, I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, we're going to stand with you. It's real simple. It
Right.
ain't complicated. And until we evolve as a group of people who understand that and demand more because we're that relevant. And I tell you, it's like if you're Michael Jordan and you're getting paid the same thing the people on the bench are getting paid, there's something wrong with that. And if
You're
we're that
correct.
important, then we ought to get some compensation for the value and the points that we put on the board.
And I'm glad you brought that up. With everyone waiting to see if Biden gonna become the president, one of the most important things I want my viewing audience to understand, and that is the power of the black vote. Okay? In order for Biden to get Wisconsin, it was the power of the vote that came out of Milwaukee. In order for Biden to get Michigan, it was the power of the vote that came out of Detroit. In order for Biden to get Georgia, I want you to hear me, to get Georgia, it was because the power of the vote that came out of Atlanta, and especially out of the congressional district that John Lewis held and a young African American woman now holds, and because of the organization that was happening behind the sister that ran for governor that helped put Georgia and Biden's column, okay? And Philly. Can't forget about Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the power of those African Americans with others. We didn't do it just by ourselves, but we played a big part in Pennsylvania. Now, possibly, going to be in Biden's corner. You follow what I'm saying? But the wonderful thing about it, if it don't be for Claiborne, whatever, the congressman. You know, we always said when we was going to Washington, D.C. for Progressive Black Caucus, if it don't be for him standing up and letting Biden know, we as a people going to be with you as long as there is an agenda that's going to address our needs and concerns. And that's where the lift every voice come into play. I want to say that to say I salute you. You never change your purpose, and I want to let my viewing audience know, and he'll tell you, I've been with him in Springfield when they checked former Governor Ronna. Hey, you haven't kept your promise to us as a people, and this is what we want. I was there as I was pushing for the election of J.B. Pritzker around the state, where your organization reached out, sent him an invitation for him to come and speak at your forum to address your concerns, and he did not show up. And was in Springfield. This that we doing, thanks to be the glory of being able to document what we do and to make it things that we do verifiable for our children and grandchildren to know the importance of fairness. Ain't nothing wrong with saying the Negro, blacks, or African Americans need to get their fair share in order for it to be fair. And if you not at the table, like you said, you on the menu. And the one thing about it, our concerns get gurgitated, for lack of a better phrase, after the dinner. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So let the people know how they can get in touch with your organization, especially African American entrepreneurs and business folks, to get in touch with your organization so we all can come together and feed our concerns into your organization, where your organization will become just like Push, just like the NAACP. When I see the guy that's running to become a senator in Georgia was John Lewis, pastor, coming out of the church that Martin Luther King was from, that's letting us know that the only way things gonna be right and fair is if there's someone there. So, hey man, I can't say enough. I commend you. I'm standing 10 toes down with you like I always have been. Okay? We've known each other for decades. For decades. When I came into Peoria to help stop the gang violence, and the mayor understood what I was saying, you was there because you was giving me direction on what fairness is when they brought the casinos there and gave them brothers an alternative. Stop the violence, and we would teach y'all how to become people that's working and become vendors. From what you did was righteous because you put us at the table. Even though people say it was a war between billionaires and billionaires, okay. At the end of the war, we still want what's fair for us as a people. And there's not anything wrong with it. The latent acts, get their concerns addressed. That's why you don't see them screaming or whatever it is. They get their concerns addressed.
They're sitting at the table negotiating their deal. One of the things I want to share with you, and I know you get it, but it's important because you have an incredible listening audience, is that, when they talk about fairness and equity, we have to understand that when we take a look, say, for example, healthcare, HFS, they should be spending close to $840 million a year with Black business and Black people. Okay, that's what the numbers say.
Right.
That's what the law says. And my listening audience needs to understand that their spending based upon their numbers may be closer to 5 to 6 million. Now, this ain't just been for 2019. This goes back 5 years. So I estimate that we've lost about $7 billion that should have gone into our community on healthcare. And just take a look at the healthcare outcome. Why are we dying of the coronavirus more than any other people? Because of our healthcare outcomes. We don't have access to healthcare. We're not getting access to it. We're not getting the opportunities at the same time. So we're dying at a higher rate. And on the economic side, we're dying at an even higher rate on that. And for people to be disappointed or angry, the only thing we've ever done is fight for Black people. When you take a look at IT and all the technology money they spend,
Right.
They spend billions of dollars. But take a look at how much Black businesses, and we got a lot of phenomenal IT firms, take a look at how much of the spend they get. Sometimes it's less than 1%. When you take a look at Black media.
Thank you. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Billions of dollars in Black media. And guess how much Black media has gotten in the spend? I wrote the governor a letter in the midst of the pandemic and said, look, there's several things we requested. We requested, one, for the people in the low income communities who can't afford the protection gear, the PPE, and the protection gear, we ought to make it available to them for free. Second of all, what we ought to do, we ought to spend money with Black media to tell the story.
Right.
Because Black media is relevant, and we ought to spend money. They didn't respond back to it. And quite frankly, not until this election where they needed us, did they spend any money with Black media at all.
Right.
And those are facts. The numbers were so deplorable.
Get them the numbers about that media, how much media, the budget that the state have with media in reference
It's,
to what African
it's
Americans get.
they spent close to $2 billion in spend, and African Americans got less than one half of 1%. It is an outright insult. But if we don't have black media that could tell our story, then we should truly become very vulnerable
Right.
because media is powerful. It's like what you're doing here. We ought to be making sure that every listening audience ought to find ways of supporting black media. That's what we're going to launch, what we call the Black Media Fund.
I
We
want to be a
hope to
part of
raise
that.
millions of dollars.
I
Yeah,
want I
we
want to
hope
be
to
a
raise
part of that.
millions of dollars to strengthen black media, radio, newspaper, TV, across the board. Because we believe if we have strong black media that is conscientious, it'll make these issues come alive. But without that issue, it doesn't come alive.
Right. You know, because I know you got another meeting, but we got about 5 more minutes. You know, man, I did my 100th show October 16th, and it was just also dealing with the election and all the other issues, but one of the most important issues, it was also the 25th anniversary of the Million Man March.
Hey, I was there.
Yeah, oh, I know. And the wonderful thing about it, when I got the call from Ben Chavez and Reverend Thomas, and they said, Gator, we want you to be a part of the Zoom panel so we can show what was the background on how it all came together, how we all came together. Because this anniversary was to let the younger individuals know that next year wouldn't just be about the 26th year anniversary. It'll be a year from this year where we are working with them to carry it on as a way of life, living long live the spirit of the Million Man March. You follow what I'm saying? Okay.
Absolutely.
And the most important thing, it was 3 days, 14th, 15th, and the 16th. The 16th was when the Minister Farrakhan came on to what we was doing and spoke about everything. And they realized the importance of the African American women that they played in it. Okay, even to the point, I'm just naming one. It's so many. Marion Barry's wife.
Mm-hmm.
Marion Barry's wife. Marion Barry was the mayor at that time. President Clinton them left. Everybody in Congress, everybody left, and they left the safety of that city in the hands of the million plus African American men up under the leadership and the direction of Mr. Farrakhan and all of us that helped put it together, especially the women. Miss Manberry's wife that was able to call Maya Angelou and everybody to take that part, and it's in the archives of the African American Museum in Washington, D.C. I'm saying all that to say this. During this global pandemic, which I call a Passover, the truth and everything else has came out about the ingrained racism. When they say, I heard somebody ask Congressman Claiborne if, hey, Trump, he split the country, and Claiborne said no, it was split since 1619. You follow what I'm saying? So this that what you doing, we as a people don't have no excuse to show media because now we are media as opposed to asking for permission to be media where it allows us to critique what the other media is saying when it comes to us telling our story. You follow what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
what you saying, you're going to see. You're going to have Ben Chaves and them getting with you. You're going to have so many people, even Maxine Waters and them, getting up with you. You know what I mean? Because we are disconnected No, my opinion. I can't get it like um, Reverend Willie Burroughs always says, we lose out because we disconnected. You know what I mean? I can't say it as gracefully as my friend and your friend, no longer here, may rest in peace, Mark would always
Mhm.
say. But I want to say this, brother. We both was raised where it was known once we got away from the beating of the drums to get our message out. It's a saying: telegram, telephone, tell a Negro. And with that, I want to say thank you, brother, for being on. Hey, give your phone number so people can call your organization and give them your web page, whatever it is. Could you do that before I close out?
Absolutely. First of all, let me thank you, Gator, for the opportunity. Our website is www.ilb as in boy cc.org. Again, ILB as in boy cc.org, Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce. And our phone number in our Peoria office, we also have a Chicago office. I don't have that number in front of me. But our Peoria number is 309 740 4430. And nothing but the best to you. And I appreciate all the work, Gator, you've done. You're a champion, and I respect the work that you've done. And it's going to take us all working together for the common good of not just Black people, but America.
Of
America is
America.
stronger when we're all stronger.
Right, of America. And I want to say it takes all of us working together, united in peace for the betterment of all of us. And with that, I want to say thank you, lad. And I want to say to God be the glory.
Amen.
And that's our story. Thank you, man. Hey, man, keep your mask, man. I know you got it in your pocket.
Take care. I got it, man.
All right,
Right,
now.
hey, right, hey,
Appreciate
right
you.
here.